We first did this last summer, just before you joined Imperial. It's been about 7 months since then. What's been the highlight for you?
Yeah, it's really flown, and it's lovely to see you again, Jess. I think the real highlight has been getting to know the institution in much more detail. So I've spent most of the last 6 months visiting our academic departments, professional services divisions, students' union, sports facilities, residences, and that's just been a fantastic opportunity to learn more about Imperial, to hear about people, what people love about the place, what's their ambition for Imperial, but also the day-to-day stuff that we can work on together to make their lives easier and more productive. So it's been really exciting. I can honestly say that every day has been different.
I know from those kind of interactions that people have really enjoyed that opportunity to have a chat to you. Everyone I've met who's been at those kind of sessions has really got a lot out of it. I wonder what you found most surprising.
If I was to pick one thing, maybe it's the scale and range of research. I mean, I was aware of the quality, but the sheer scale and the diversity and the quality is just amazing and truly world class. We use that phrase a lot, but in this case, in Imperial's case, it's absolutely no exaggeration. It's just fantastic.
And all of the kind of incredible facilities that are just a stone's throw from your office here in South Kensington.
Well, that's right. And I mean, like for about 3 months, I wondered, what was outside the window. And then I go and visit and find out it's actually the roof of our phenomenal wave pool research facility.
Okay, I've never been.
Well, exactly. And so every day I go into a new building and I suddenly see, wow, I never knew that was there.
You've recently started a big project looking at Imperial's strategy, and I wondered, why did you choose to do that kind of in your first year, and what do you want to get out of that research?
Yeah. I think it's a good time to be doing it. I mean, I think when any new president comes into any university, there's a sense that there's an opportunity to take stock and look at the direction of travel of the university. So there's almost that expectation. But actually, if you look at what's happened in the world in the last 2 or 3 years, from the Brexit to the pandemic to now geopolitics, war, cost of living crisis, I mean, we probably never had, outside of wartime, such a confluence of stresses and pressures on the world and indeed on the university. So I think this was a really good time for multiple reasons to launch a strategy. A strategy process makes it sound very mechanical, but it's really it's a conversation with colleagues and with students as to what they see is the future of the university.
Yeah, I think it's a really exciting chance to look at how we approach things like science, but also education, which is so kind of critical to Imperial, and think, how do you want to train these students who will become future scientific leaders? What do we need to do to support them? I'm really excited by it.
Great.
August marks your first year as president. What do you hope that Imperial's community can achieve by then?
I think, I mean, I'll take you back to the strategy process, because I think what we're deliberately doing is giving ourselves maybe a year to have that conversation and looking to have our new strategy kind of formulated by the autumn. So what I would hope by the end of that first year, we will have a good sense of the collective ambition of our community and a reasonably well developed kind of framework, our kind of roadmap for the next 10 to 20 years. And a roadmap that really means something to people, that they're excited about, and that will inspire others, as I said, to partner with us.
And what are you planning for year 2 to kind of enact parts of that?
Yeah, I think year 2 is very much. I mean, if we get that strategy right and it means something to people, year 2 should actually be starting to bring it to life.
I suppose you've also got an opportunity to meet a lot of our incredible global alumni, and I wonder what you've learned from those interactions.
I mean, our alumni are just a phenomenal community in their own right, and amazing ambassadors and advocates for Imperial. And what really inspires me is how they want to stay involved, and many of them are staying involved. So it's really interesting whether it's Munich or whether it is Singapore, or forthcoming kind of visit to the US. They turn out in great numbers. Many of them, in fact most of them, have kept connections with those who they spend time with at Imperial. It's as if they never left, really. The same groups are. Generally, those friendships have endured over so many decades.
So I wonder if there are students or potentially researchers or members of staff who are watching this who are thinking about coming to Imperial. what would you say to them? Why should they join us?
I'd say, well, one, come to one of the world's kind of top-ranked universities, but come because you want to make a difference to the world. I mean, I think that's what makes this such a special place. Our entire community, on a day-to-day basis, we have staff and students who are thinking about how they can make a difference to the world.
It feels like you've come into Imperial at a really awesome time in its kind of adolescence and coming into the world and making its mark. I get a chance to ask you a few more personal questions now. What's it been like moving from Bristol to London?
London is so different, as you know. I mean, just the scale and the diversity. I mean, it has to be the world's greatest city. I've always thought that, and this move has just confirmed it for me. So I love sport, just the sheer diversity there. I occasionally go to the theatre, go to musicals.
You don't need to even leave this postcode to get to some of the most important museums in the world,
completely,
right?
and it's just. A few weeks ago, as you know, it was half term or mid-term for schools, and literally it was hard to move down Exhibition Road because you had all these wonderful young people from little toddlers, to probably fifth and sixth form students going to the museums, going to the galleries, at night the Albert Hall where we hold our graduations. So just even this so-called Albertopolis, this square mile that we're situated in has got to be scientifically and culturally one of the richest precincts in the world. And what a privilege for us. The last time we chatted, you asked me about what TV I watched, and I mentioned Ted Lasso. And for many people, I think including both my parents, that was the only thing they remembered about the interview.
Including my parents, that was the only thing they remembered as well.
So I didn't have the opportunity to ask you what you're watching at the moment.
Okay, that's a hard one. I definitely watch University Challenge, especially when Imperial is as successful as they have been recently. I also really, really like Sky Portrait Artist of the Year, which is a portrait painting competition, but where you really have this exceptional skill and talent on display. You mentioned before how Imperial is home to some absolutely sensational musicians, and I think we're also home to some absolutely sensational artists. But just watching artists kind of really get in the zone and go about and do their brilliant, wonderful masterpiece, I find it very cathartic watching them, and also inspiring to see what kind of things people can create. So Portrait Artist of the Year and University Challenge.
So maybe my last question for you is, you clearly love the place. I mean, the first time we met, you were the most powerful ambassador and advocate for this college that I've met in my time here. What do you love about the place? What's made you stay in Imperial? And maybe what's your ambition for the college going forward?
Well, I definitely love the facilities. We've spoken about how that's been a highlight of your job, going around and seeing these great labs. I love working in those labs, state-of-the-art instrumentation, but also that absolutely incredible technical expertise you need from the research staff around it and the kind of supporting technicians just to enable awesome science to happen. And I find that it's really exciting and kind of motivating for me. Definitely the students, our undergraduates and our postgraduates, you get PhD researchers who applied to come and work here who are inspired and excited like you and I, and have these incredible ideas that take research in completely new directions. I absolutely love the collaborative nature of research at Imperial. You have a world-leading engineering department, but you have chemistry, you have physics, you have maths, you have computing, you've got the business school, you've got medicine, and that just takes science to places that I never thought was possible. And you kind of have, you can have your big long list of international collaborators all you like, but actually the research collaborations you can have just in the senior common room are absolutely extraordinary. So I think I stay here, I'm excited to be here, and I feel honoured and privileged to be here because of that opportunity. And I suppose my vision for me is that one day I get to do more of that teaching of students. I really love teaching our undergraduates. I think they're so enthusiastic and curious, and an opportunity to give them some small sense of science and what they can do with it is really fantastic. But I really hope that Imperial continues to be this kind of beacon of excellence for research, but also leading the way on what we should do on societal issues like diversity and equity, and transforming education to make it more inclusive and impactful.
And I'm glad you mentioned collaboration, because I knew coming to Imperial, by reputation, Imperial has really strong academic departments and 4 very strong faculties. What has been maybe the biggest surprise for me, and I mean this in a really pleasant way, has been the collaboration, both educational and research, but particularly in research across our faculties. So obviously the Global Challenge Research Institutes, I mean, they play a major part of that. But actually it's much more than that. When I visit any of our faculties, including our business school, the tentacles that they have into other parts of the organisation is what makes it really special. And I think actually as we think through our strategy for the next decade, a key question for us is how do we facilitate even more of that? We see it on steroids almost in the White City, and what a fantastic opportunity. But I think the ambition and the appetite is the same here. And so many of the grand challenges that our planet and humanity are facing, as you well know, will only be solved through multidisciplinary and interdisciplinary research. So I think again, it's a game that Imperial plays really well already, but we have so much more to offer.
I completely agree, and it feels very meaningful from here. You hear that word interdisciplinary all the time, and probably in all of your really top-level interactions, people say interdisciplinary a lot in government and other universities. But here it feels real. Interdisciplinary is just part of what makes Imperial, and I think that's why it's so exciting.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more.